Kai Maurice. I'm a part of the Wildcat Network. I'm a freshman, and today I'm with Coach Tyler Tomlinson, who is the head coach of the women's soccer team. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Kai.
So if I could just jump straight into it, coming into the season, what were your expectations for the team?
Yeah, it's a good question. It was pretty unknown, to be honest. We were a really young team last year, and we added a lot of new pieces. So we really needed time together and games to try to figure out, how things were going to work, where people were going to play, how this team was really going to come together. So for us, I would say my expectations, they weren't low and they weren't high. They were really unknown. And so I think, each game that we've played, I really feel like, man, we need that game. We started really well in exhibition. And then we had a better team in exhibition. And I'm like, man, we needed that game. And then we rattled off a couple wins, and then we played a good team. And I'm like, man, we needed that game. And so it's been good to see the growth. And I think each game my expectations as a coach have gone up. And so I think that's a positive thing for this team so far this year.
Yeah, for sure. And so now that the season has underway, your record is 5-1, a very good record to start off. What do you want to improve on? What do you hope for the girls?
Yeah, I think if I take some things away from our one loss, it was, we were on the road. We were put in a situation where things weren't the most comfortable for us. The field was a little smaller. We're used to playing on turf. It was a grass field. We're used to playing earlier in the day, so it was late at night. The grass was a little wet. And so I would say, what I'd still like to see us improve is how can we overcome some adversity within a game? How can we respond maybe when our backs are against the wall or we're challenged a little differently? And so those are things I would say that we're still looking to improve. I'm obviously really keen on defense. So I still think, one-on-one defending is something all around the field that we can improve on. And then, overall, probably just some consistent play from some certain positions. If I could rely more on some certain positions to be more consistent, then I feel like, we'll get this train moving in the right direction.
For sure, for sure. And you mentioned overcoming adversity. How do you encourage your team? How do you tell your team to face that and to overcome it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think first and foremost, you have to experience it. I could talk about overcoming adversity, but if you never have to experience it, then, you don't know how to if that moment arises. So being able to experience it first and foremost is what we have to go through. Second, then you have to recognize it, right? You have to recognize that you're in a moment of adversity. And then it's my job as a coach to make sure that, we approach things in a positive way. We approach things in a constructive way. Okay, this is, the adversity that we're facing. How are we going to fix it? Not, tear down what you did, but let's repair maybe what went wrong, or let's change something so we can face this adversity. And then, of course, always making sure that you're doing it together and that you're helping each other out and making your teammates better.
Of course, of course. What style of plays are you implementing this season? I know you said that you're keen on defense, so how does that tie into the formation that you're playing and what you hope the girls will build up towards goal with?
Yeah, so I'm excited about this year. I feel like 2 years ago we really immersed ourselves in a possession-based, build out of the back, keep the ball as much as possible mindset, and that group that year was able to adapt to that and do really well with it. Last year, as I said, we were pretty young. So we kind of went into the season with that mindset and then realized we weren't maybe ready for that. And so we changed some things. But My philosophy is that we want the ball as much as possible, and we want to always keep it. If that and when I say keep it, I mean the game is 360 degrees. So wherever the open option is, it could be next to you, it could be behind you, it could be in front of you, whatever it is, let's just keep it. And so I like that this team in particularly has done a pretty good job with that. I won't necessarily give you away the formation that we're playing, as I think that that's one of our strengths, is that a lot of teams don't understand how we play. And so that's a good thing for us. But I can tell you that on the other side, defense is very important for us. We've only been scored on in 2 of our games so far this year. And so I do credit some mental toughness and some experience on the back line to, maybe leading us to those shutouts.
For sure, for sure. And you have conference play starting this Saturday. How do you feel going into that?
I think we're confident. I think that we've been challenged pretty well in our non-conference play. I think we've had some good competitors. I think we've had some good results. Obviously, those teams ultimately don't compare sometimes to the teams in the Heart of America Athletic Conference. As I believe top to bottom, we're probably the best conference in the nation for women's soccer. So right out of the gate, we have a top 25 team that we're going to face, and so we're going to have to make sure that we're playing our best because they're really good, and we're on the road, and everyone will be hyped up just because it's conference play. So I personally, I think we're confident and we're ready, but we're going to have to be able to raise our game to the next level to be able to have some success within our conference.
Of course. And how is the team preparing themselves for this conference battle coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're going to make sure we watch some film. We're going to go over things tactically. We're going to make sure that our bodies are recovered and rested and ready to go, and that player by player, you understand your roles and your responsibilities for this particular game. You don't need to look past this game. You need to look right at this game and what you're supposed to do to be successful. And I think that if we can combine those things and make sure that we're mentally tough when the whistle blows on Saturday, I think that each player themselves will have done what they needed to do to get a result.
Of course. And going back to preseason, what was the team's energy? How were the girls reacting to meeting everybody and coming together again as a team and preparing for the season coming up?
Yeah, energy was positive. Energy was positive, and sometimes I can see that, but I also rely on some feedback from players, and in talking with players and like their individual meetings and things like that, they were really all saying the same message, and that the energy was positive. Players were uplifting. The cohesion was tight. Everybody was getting along. Obviously, I think that as the season goes on, winning helps that and makes things, even if it is or isn't, it appears like things are always going well. And so right now, yeah, I would say culture is running really high for us environmentally. Things are well. So, as long as we can keep that positive energy, even if we lose a game, I think that this team will respond well and still have some success.
Of course. And you mentioned even if you lost a game, so you lost against St. Ambrose, you said. How did the team react to that? What was the common consensus around the team regarding the loss?
Yeah, I think that, at first coming off the field, I think they were, pretty upset because, it was an intense game. We gave up a goal with like 8 minutes left to lose. We weren't able to find the net ourselves in the second half. So I think they were a little upset, but I think they realized that, from first half to second half, even though we scored 2 really early goals, and then we conceded 2, we were the better team in the second half when we made some changes and adjusted to the style of play that was happening, et cetera. So I think that even though the result didn't go our way, they realized that they were able to, make changes in the game and try to play a little bit better or a little different in the second half than they would in the first half. So I think that was key for them to recognize that, and then it's okay to be upset for a little while after the game if you feel like you played hard and didn't get out of it what you wanted to. But then the mindset has to be, what did we learn from that loss? What did we learn from that game in general? And how can we take what is positive from this game moving forward? And I think we did that well.
Awesome. What did the girls want out of the season? What were their hopes for what they want to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think one of the first things they wanted was to make sure that we had a positive culture and a quality experience, and get that going first. And then sometimes if those things are going well, the results just start to come as a byproduct of making sure everybody's on the same page. I would say a lot of the returning players are, and especially the older players that are maybe juniors and seniors, were probably pretty frustrated. We didn't make the playoffs last year. Coming off a season where we had we were top 4 in conference and hosted a playoff game. So, I would say ultimately most of the players want to make it back to conference playoffs and have that experience again and try to make a run at the national tournament. So, but I think they're also smart enough to realize that they can't just focus on wins without having a disciplined team and a positive culture and things like that. So I think that they're going about things the right way to get there.
Of course, and coming off of a season where you didn't make the playoffs, how do you expect to reach the playoffs this year? What do you feel like it needs to be changed?
Well, there's just no days off in our conference. We were, if you boil it down all the way to something really little, we were really one goal away, conceding or scoring, from making the playoffs, right? So had we tied one of the games we lost by a goal, that's it. We would have been in the playoffs. And so, not taking any conference opponent for granted is, I would say, was a big lesson that we probably learned last year. And then in this conference, I feel like you're going to have to steal a game from somebody maybe they don't expect you to beat. And if you can combine those two things, beating the teams that you're supposed to, and then stealing one maybe you're not supposed to, that's a recipe to get yourself into the playoffs. But never taking an opponent for granted, never taking a play or a moment in conference for granted. I think those are the things that we definitely learned from last year. And I think we also learned that, kind of having the best positive culture always is going to be more helpful than a critical culture.
Of course. And to end things off here, what do you feel like the toughest challenge will be this season?
I just think conference play is going to be the toughest challenge for us. We have so many good teams and so many good coaches and so many good players in our conference that just overcoming that and being able to rise to the level, like I said, that's going to be a really important gauge for how this team is. We've started really well, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? It's like the old golfers term, it's not how you drive, it's how you arrive. And that's kind of where we are right now is taking that mindset in and making sure that great that we started well in non-conference, but doesn't mean anything if you can't do anything in conference when it matters. So hopefully being able to rise to that level.
Of course. Well, I thank you for being here, Coach. Thank you for allowing me this time to interview you. I wish you the best going into conference play. Hopefully you can keep that one loss on the season, but I think you're doing a great job with your program, and I think the team's doing very well. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kai.